Are we live? We are live. Hi, everybody. Great to see you all. Hope you are all staying healthy and very safe and staying positive and getting through all of this. And I'm just hanging out here in my studio here. Give you a 3D tour, actually, a 360-degree tour. There it is. And hope to hear some good questions from you guys. I'm here for about a half hour or so, and trying to figure this. Hi, Elaine Helpman. Good to see you. Got a message from Elaine. Hope you guys are doing well. And yeah, it's been kind of interesting. This whole thing, for me especially, went from about 90 miles an hour to zero in one day in March. So it's just figuring out a new life paradigm with all of this. But we're getting along. Everyone's in the house, and my kids are doing school online, and my wife's working. She's in communications in Los Alamos, but she's doing everything from home. So we're all pretty much hunkered down here, and haven't just hunkering down. I do miss playing with the orchestra, and we had to cancel, of course, the last couple of concerts, and that was a real bummer. But everything's canceled. All the chatter performances, and not sure when it's going to come back. We're just sort of waiting, and seeing what happens. I think it's real important to be patient with it all, and be real measured about how we get back there. I got a message from Caitlin. Hey, Caitlin. Good to hear from you. And yeah, send me some questions. I can talk about the season coming up next year. It's super, super exciting. Really, really exciting things. Hey, Deborah Spencer. I can't see faces, but I can see, and I'm drinking. It's not coffee, it's tea, but it's a great cup. It's orange and it's bright and cheers me up. So anyway, yeah, it's a real exciting season next season. What's going on in the Santa Fe Symphony? For me, hey, Lord Dwyer. For me, it's one of the more exciting things. I mean, they're all great. All the concerts are great. A real wide variety of repertoire and community engagement, involvement, and that exciting thing in the spring where we're going to be recreating the concert that Igor Stravinsky conducted, and back in, I think, the 60s, I believe, in the St. Francis Cathedral. We're going to be doing the exact program that he conducted, including his Symphony of Psalms, and that's really quite an amazing thing. And speaking of Stravinsky, I've got this picture of Stravinsky right there, and my orchestra, the APO, as a goodbye present, they gave me a nice autographed Stravinsky photo. So it's just sitting there staring at me all day, making sure I'm doing the right thing. So I've got some questions to answer. Wow, look at all these questions. Okay. What inspires me now? Gosh, that's a good question. I'm sort of not necessarily on break from inspiration, but taking it easy, trying not to move too fast. I do practice every day, and it's interesting. You're not practicing. I have no idea when my next performance is. I take that back. Chatter's going to do something in a couple of weeks, live stream. But other than that, I have no idea. which is actually kind of interesting and really kind of enjoying it. I'm just practicing to just see how deep I can go into the music and everything. It's actually kind of fun without the pressure of a live performance. So let's see, what have I been listening to lately? All my old hardcore punk albums from the '80s. No, just kidding. But Actually, not too much. I'm just sort of taking a mental break from it all, and basically, the day looks like I just sit and practice and hang out with the family, and then at night I just relax and will binge watch a lot of TV. It's something that I really don't get to do during the season since all of our work is typically um, at night or on weekends. So I'm kind of enjoying those like normal people do. And Deborah Spencer, what are you practicing now with time to do what you want? Well, sort of diving into stuff that I've always wanted to learn. I'm doing a lot of the Paganini caprices, and it's nice to practice those without the pressure of performing those because they're sort of the pinnacle of difficult violin music. And I'm trying to learn as many as possible and trying to make them sound halfway decent. And it's been really great. I'm doing a lot of fundamentals work, scales, right? How boring, but they sure do make me sound better. I know some people don't need scales, and that's cool. I wish I didn't need them, but I sort of do. But I'm also practicing just pieces that, just maybe just trying to go back to older pieces and try to make them really sound better and keep striving to make them sound better and get deeper into them. So that's a good question. And yeah, so let's see. What else is going on? Any new hobbies I've developed? Well, not necessarily. No, not really. I've actually done a lot of housework. Before this thing, I barely knew which way to turn the screwdriver. But now I'm getting better at it, and I've fixed a lot of things and cleaned a lot of things. And I even took apart my espresso machine and fixed it. I took apart a coffee grinder and fixed it. And all these, hey, Strausses, how are you? And so do a lot of household things like that. I put together my son's bed, really exciting there. And I also put together a basketball rim and pole so that we can all play some basketball. So yeah, I've got projects. I've got lots to do, and but yeah, mentally, I'm just really trying to take it easy, and exercising a lot actually, doing a lot of stationary bike stuff and some weights and things like that almost every day, and just trying to feel better as a human and trying to stay out of trouble and trying to stay safe and wearing masks everywhere and washing hands and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's the way of the world right now. We're just waiting and seeing. Yeah, like I said, it's a really exciting season coming up next year. And let's see. Yeah, really exciting. We've got a lot of Beethoven coming up. Alexei Kenny's back, fantastic player. Man, I love his playing. Doing the Dvorak Concerto, which is really rarely played. But it's an awesome piece. If it wasn't for all those other great violin concertos like Beethoven, Brahms, and all those things, we'd probably hear more of the Dvorak. But I'm really excited to do the Dvorak Concerto with that. And Beethoven, of course, the Messiah, and the concert in February with Jessie Tatum is going to be fantastic. The concerto that she is playing is an amazing piece. I played it with Guillermo back in the NMSO, the Christopher Rouse Flute Concerto, and it's an incredible piece. And I can't wait for Jessie to just totally slay that. It's always fun when people from the orchestra get up there and solo. It's actually a different really cool energy, and I really like that a lot. So that's going to be very exciting. Let's see. Let's see, what other questions? Let's see. Someone asked if I am able to practice. Let's see. Where is that message? I missed that. Something about mobile practicing. Hey, Elena. Good to hear from you. And mobile practicing. I've done a couple of projects. Though there's that app called Acapella where you can play something and then you send it to a friend, and then with a click track they can play it with you, and you can play it together and post it. And I've done a couple of those things. I did one really interesting thing where I did the first movement of the Bach Double with somebody in Portland, Ron Blessinger, who runs 45th Parallel. We did it in James Holland. Hi, James. Um, we did it in real time. So we both had a click track. So we were playing absolutely in real time. He was in Portland and I was here in Albuquerque, which is kind of amazing if you really think about it. I almost felt like the first time, when the first telephone call was made or something like that. I mean, to be, 1,000 miles or so away and just and to play something with somebody in real time, it was pretty amazing. So I can imagine a lot going on with that. So sorry, looking at other questions going on. We've got let's see. Oh yeah, here's Perry. We're missing you. Oh, hi, Perry. Miss you too. If I could go back in time and play something for its premiere performance by any composer, what would it be? Great question, Nick. Hey, Nick, how's it going? Nick's awesome. And I have, of course, Nick Toro posters of Chatter concerts. There's one right there next to the faded Carnegie Hall poster right there. That's Nick's poster for our 100th birthday of New Mexico concert. And that was awesome. So thanks, Nick. That's a great question. Premiere performance by any composer. Holy crap. There's a lot. I would say, like, of course, Beethoven Ninth. I mean, that was a pretty amazing moment to probably witness that. Let's see. I guess like any symphony by Brahms, just sort of the big symphonies. Of course, Mahler. I would have loved to see Mahler conduct because I heard he was pretty much of a madman. But to hear the premiere of some of his big symphonies would be rather amazing. So I would say Mahler for sure. And gosh, a lot of things. Bernstein, Chichester Psalms. What a gorgeous piece. That would have been amazing to hear that for the first time and go like, what was that? Things that are just that you go back on and you're just like, God, what is that? Probably one that's kind of unexpected, but Philip Glass, Einstein on the Beach opera, which is this 5-hour opera that was premiered at the Met, and nothing like it had been really ever done before, and it was really a tremendous moment, and wish I could see that, but hopefully, we'll be around to hear premieres of pieces that will be like, I was there for that. And I remember my dad once saying that he didn't do the premiere, but he did a really early performance of Copland's Appalachian Spring, like maybe a couple of months after it was written. And he said he was just blown away. There was like absolutely nothing like that had ever been done, and so I'm looking forward to the next premieres that come up, and see what happens with that. Let's see some other questions. How do you juggle so many performance obligations? Santa Fe Symphony, Pro Musica, and MPhil Chatter. Well, right now, pretty easily. Hey, Kathy Jarrett. There's nothing to juggle, so I kind of forgot how to do that all. And But when it comes around, it's really difficult. And actually, this is a really good time for reflection to think, maybe I don't have to juggle so much in the future. Maybe I can figure out how to not have so so many things to do all at once, and so many performances. So, yeah, that's a good question. And another question: did I use a cappella for that Bach double that I described? No, there's actually a programmer in Portland who set me up on his own server, and he did something so that there's no latency, so that we did play with a click track, so we both heard the click track, and we were able to play it together, across 1,000 miles. It's a really hard thing to do, especially with the internet, and it's really quite spotty in places, and so. But it was fun. We're gonna do some more things like that. And hey, Carla, good to see you. I miss you too. I'm getting all these nice messages from people, and I miss everybody. I haven't seen everyone in so long, and just been going to the grocery store and taking walks around the block. And it's amazing that we've been at this for a long time. But there's going to be more too, and pretty much everything's been canceled. Feel real bad for, of course, the opera and the Chamber Music Festival, and I was going to do the Oregon Bach Festival this year. That was canceled. I mean, it's all really good and responsible, and I think it's a good thing. Oh gosh, let me look at some other questions here. Let's see. Well, here's one. If I could play one concerto with Santa Fe Symphony that I haven't played before, what would it be? Let's see. I've done this before a few times, but boy, I sure love the Sibelius Violin Concerto, and I think that would be a blast. As far as living composers, it's the John Adams Violin Concerto comes to mind as truly awesome, and also the Violin Concerto of Thomas Adès, the British composer, is really spectacular. So, yeah, I think that's great. Deborah Spencer, can you talk more about the live Chatter event coming up? Yes, we are going to try basically what Chatter's been doing for the past few months. Is we've been weekly, we've been posting older performances, archival performances, and we're getting a bit of a hankering for doing something live. I don't know if anyone out there has the Berlin Phil digital concert hall, which is really incredible sound and video, and they're starting to do concerts where they'll have 3 people apart. So anyway, we're going to try a live show on a Sunday morning and do it exactly like we do on the Sunday. It's going to be myself and Luke Gullickson on piano and a poet, just 3 of us, nobody in the audience, and properly distanced from each other. And I'm going to do a solo piece by Kevin Putz. He's going to do a solo piano piece, and then we're going to do the Lark Ascending, the Vaughan Williams, which I'm going to be playing in a string sextet version. We're supposed to do it this summer for the Memorial Day concert. I believe that's been moved to November. It's actually a really incredible arrangement for just strings, and so I'm going to give it a little try. Coming up live stream on Chatter. So that's going to be at the end of the month. That's going to be the last Sunday in the month, and we'll just set up a couple of cameras, and we'll have a poet, we'll have our 2 minutes of silence, and goofy emceeing like I should do all the time, and should be interesting. We're going to try to do one of those per month. Here's a message. Chris Barnes. Hi, Chris. Are there any outdoor venues with lots of air ventilation where chamber music could be formed? There are. Outdoor is hard for chamber music because more than often you have to be mic'd, which isn't so bad. If you have a good sound engineer who's real sensitive, you can do a really good job. So there's a really great venue at the Albuquerque Museum, and just looking at another question. And so we might every summer Chatter has a series at the Albuquerque Museum, 4 concerts. And the museum is going to open, they've been closed. They'll be closed for a while. but they're going to start having public things in August with the chatter performances. We're going to do 4 performances. They're only going to allow in the allowable number of people, distance from each other, and they've got an outdoor venue there, a nice stage there. So we might try something out there. And I got a great question from Nick Toro. Webern, when? Webern. We had got to get me some Webern in this. How can I get some Webern in this town? Who's going to do Webern? Well, Chatter, I think we'll do it. We'll do a whole morning of Webern, and that should be naturally, properly, socially distant. Just kidding. No, I love Webern, and we were all set up to do the Concerto for Nine, and and unfortunately that was the last program we were preparing before we had to yank it, and but we'll be back, and we will do that all morning of Webern. I can't wait. They're really short pieces. We're gonna be able to get like a lot of his chamber music in one morning because every piece is like 4.5 minutes. It's really fun. So only the very brave. Yeah. I was just trying to think of some composers that, audiences don't really go for. You could program those and you could have natural limits on the audience because no one would show up. I'm trying to think of some composers there, but stuff that I like. So anyway, but I'm half kidding with that. Anyway, yeah, we'll do. What about some Webern and Santa Fe Symphony? What about that, Daniel Krupe or Guillermo? Probably not, right? There's some great things, and they're short. Okay. Anyway, here's a couple of questions. Let's see. What are the unique challenges of sitting as concertmaster? That's a good question. They're all pretty. Let's see. Well, the concertmaster's job is to translate what the conductor has in mind for at least the strings. And yay, Daniel, Webern next year. I'm all about it. So basically, you have to show a lot in your playing. You have to show bow placement. You have to show rhythm. You have to show everything in that chair, and you try to be as on par with as much as possible with the conductor is really the most important thing, because when that happens, and then basically I'm following the conductor myself, and I sort of think of the principal cello doing the same thing, and it's just me and Dana and Guillermo. If we're locked in, and then if everyone's locked into us as well as Guillermo, it really works well. So you have to really visually translate style and just all sorts of things. And so there's a lot of leadership aspects to it, not just tuning the orchestra at the beginning of the show. And but thank you, Chris. Yes, do not underestimate your audience when we are starved. I can understand that. What is it like as an audience member to be starved? It's a really interesting point. It's a really interesting question, which maybe someone will comment on that. James Holland, what's my favorite excerpt? My favorite excerpt, I think what James means is, when you audition for an orchestra, you play excerpts, and you play excerpts from really difficult orchestra music. And I don't like any of them. I'm just kidding. They're really hard to play when you're not with anybody else. It's hard to make music without people around, as I am discovering, as a lot of us are discovering in this quarantine of not being able to communicate. It's such an incredible method of communication between living humans that when you're lacking it, it's difficult. But okay, back to the favorite excerpt. Gosh, I love playing Don Juan, Strauss's Don Juan. You can just sort of launch into it and hope for the best. It's super hard, and we basically learn excerpts our entire life, and so we keep refining them and everything like that. But I like Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream. That's really fun to play. Mozart, I really love all the Mozart excerpts, and the Brahms excerpts are really great. Schumann, there's a really quirky excerpt by Schumann in the Schumann's Second Symphony. It's the Scherzo from the Second Symphony, and it's really difficult. And but you got to know it. You got to know. Basically, you have to know really the top 15 excerpts to get into an orchestra these days. Know them cold. Know them as good as you were going to play them as a solo piece. So there's a lot of challenges there, but now's a perfect time to practice excerpts. When you don't have anything else. If one is interested in doing some auditions, this is a great time to do that. I don't really have any students. I have one student. I take that back. I have a really terrific students. I don't have a class of students, but I do have one student. He's a senior, and so a lot of us players are teaching online using Zoom, and that is a pretty difficult thing to do. It's hard for me, at least for me. I don't know if maybe my internet connection's really bad, but it's really difficult to get subtlety in playing. So I've been working with this student on just getting this person through repertoire and basics and scales, but just for him to have something to work towards every week is really important. So, Kaylin Benedict, what's your favorite restaurant to go in between and after services? Wow, that's such a good question. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've had a service. But when we were doing services, in Santa Fe, gosh, my usual places are Blue Corn Cafe in Santa Fe, maybe between like if we, on Sunday, we usually do a dress rehearsal in the early morning, and then we'll have not early morning, in the mid-morning, lunchtime. And then later on at 6 is the performance, or at 4 is the performance. So we'll have a big lunch in between. We'll usually go to Blue Corn, San Francisco Bar and Grill. Nothing too although Blue Corn is, New Mexican food, but nothing too fiery or spicy, because performing after eating, really spicy food it's not the most comfortable thing. I've done it, and I don't like doing it, and I will try not to do it again. But after performances is the most fun. I love going after performance, especially a really difficult one, to go celebrate. And there's really lots of places around Santa Fe, in the plaza that are worth going to, and so yeah, I miss that. I actually really, really miss that. But I've been doing, speaking of food, I am doing a lot of cooking at home, and I made a phenomenal stir fry the other day, a New York Times recipe. And what else have I made? I'm going to make some risotto this weekend. Hi, Sarah. Good to hear from you. Going to make a nice risotto coming up this weekend. Let's see. What else have I made? Gosh, it's been, you make general things. Lots of pastas. Pastas are really, really easy to make. And if you guys have any, hey, Rebecca, if you guys have any suggestions for some great meals during this, I'd be happy to take some to take some recommendations. So let's see, what other questions? Let's see. Oh yeah, do I wish I had more conducting opportunities or playing opportunities? I don't know. It was a good balance when things were happening. It was a really good balance. And the conducting, yeah, I had been doing a lot of conducting with the NM Phil, and I'm on leave from the NM Phil next year, but I'll still do the Nutcracker ballet. I've been doing the Nutcracker since the early 2000s. Thanks to Guillermo, I apprenticed with Guillermo on the Nutcracker, and then he wasn't able to do it anymore, so I started doing it in around 2004, 2005. It's a blast. I love the Nutcracker, and conducting it's really fun. The music is, I never get bored of it. I think I've conducted maybe 70 performances now, and never, ever bored of it. Hey, Lori, great to see you too. Um, Thank you, Laura. That's a really nice comment. And yeah, so I do the Nutcracker. I do a lot of new music for mid-size ensembles with Chatter, and a lot of really thorny contemporary music with lots of difficult meter changes, and I love doing it. It's really challenging, and the music's I really love doing the music, the contemporary scores we do at Chatter, and also I teach the new music ensemble at UNM, and so we do a lot of really out there music, really interesting things that you don't really hear very often. We do a lot of that over there at UNM and Chatter as well. So I do. It's kind of an interesting mix of conducting things. I do a lot of really crazy new music and some not so crazy, and then like Nutcracker and maybe a pops concert here and there. So someday I'd love to do a nice juicy Beethoven symphony. Rebecca Ray, what's your dream program? No limits. Okay, I'll have to think about this one, and I might text you since running out of time. But I might text you my dream program. But I think I've got a lot of them. I know I love Mahler. I think Mahler is just so amazing, and he always said that like he composed the world into a symphony, and I totally believe it. It's the way he gets through the emotional or the human experience is Mahler's all about the human experience, and Beethoven is too. That's why this is a great year for Beethoven. You know the of course 250th anniversary of Beethoven. It's nice to do all that. So let's see. I'll get back to that. Guillermo, good going. What do you do? Keeps kids entertained and out of your hair. You know what? They're not. They're really great. They've been in school actually, so it's basically homeschooled. They've been homeschooling since this thing started, so they're actually rather busy. And then when night rolls around, we just that's a good question. You can't take them out. You can't take them to the mall. We can't go to super game rooms. We can't go to one place we always went to is called Gravity Park. It's a trampoline park, and it's a total blast. When they reopen, I highly suggest adults going there too. Just to bounce around on a bunch of trampolines is really an exciting thing. And so yeah, it's they practice, and we do watch a lot of movies, and they help us cook things. My girl makes banana bread, and my boy makes pumpkin bread, and me and my girl made an incredible cake for Mother's Day. It was like berries with almond flour crust and some sort of creme fraiche in the middle. It was super super good. And so we're just finding activities. We take walks and go outside, surf the internet for many hours at a time, and practice. I practice with my kids. We just find stuff to do, but they've been mostly busy in school. So anyway, gosh, so it's 4:35. Does anyone have any last big questions before the end of this? It's really great that Santa Fe Symphony is doing this, and I saw the previous ones. You guys did great, Guillermo and Jesse and Caitlin, and can't wait to see the others. Thank you, Daniel, and to the whole staff for making this possible. It really keeps the orchestra in the public consciousness, and we need this because the situation changes every day, and so it's just figuring out when is safe. Here's a nice question, Perry. Thanks. Have I ever played Louise Ferencz sonatas? No, but I'm really interested in hearing what they are like. I'm always interested in new things, and I will check those out as soon as this is over. So anyway, any other questions? Got the studio set up. That's a nice picture of Carnegie Hall. It's a Felix Werman gave this to me actually. It's actually a really famous photograph in I think it was the 20s or something like that. So coincidentally, around the other huge pandemic of the 20th century, I know there were several, but the early one, and it's a really interesting picture, a faded photo of Carnegie Hall. And hey, Stephanie, great to see you. And she is going to send me a couple of recipes. That's really nice. Well, thank you everyone for being here. And really, I wish you all the best. And I stay safe and stay positive. I'm trying to stay positive and take one day at a time, and to get through everything. So I love you all. Have a great weekend. Bye.